Welcome to Thriving in the Workforce, Disruptive Dialogues with Leaders Who Care. This is a new series brought to you by Your Coach Health, where we'll be discussing top issues that are top of mind for benefit leaders everywhere. And in every episode, we'll be asking the same question: how do we move the needle? Each guest will be given an opportunity to answer. If you had a magic wand, what is something that could be done today to move the needle? My name is Marina Borohovich, and I'm the CEO and founder of Your Coach Health, where we provide supplemental mental health support in the form of live health coaching, either directly to employers or through a white label solution, powering up other brands, including digital health solutions, health plans, and EAPs.
And I'm Eugene Borohovich, co-founder and CEO at Your Coach Health. And I would love to introduce Deb, who is the #1 best-selling author. Congrats. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that. Speaker and award-winning thought leader in the area of human performance. You serve as NFP's global well-being and engagement practice leader for the past 25 years, and you've worked with hundreds of employers, including Fortune 500 companies. And so we're very honored to kick this off with you, given your wide expertise. And maybe just, kind of anchoring in on the 25 years of experience, what have you seen? I mean, we've been through economic ups and downs, economies shrink and expand, and talent is still a key component, right? And a key aspect of any corporation. What have you seen that a great leaders and great benefit leaders do throughout these cycles? And we're obviously in the down cycle now.
Well, first of all, thank you both for having me. It's a true honor to kick this off because I think your messages and work really are needed in this world. So with that, it's also been a privilege to work in this industry for the length of time I have. And as waves go up and down, I think the difference between great benefits leaders and those that might not move the needle, to your point, as far is, most people follow the money. When things get rough in the economy, businesses contract, and the first thing to go is benefits or expanding benefits. What great leaders do to move the needle, it's those times when things are down where they double down and follow the people. They follow what the people need in their workplace. They support them. They wrap them in care and support and in career stability and transparency, right? I'm not saying wave your magic wand and it's all good. And we don't really address the issues, but clarity is kindness. So they follow the people and what they need is really what I've seen benefit leaders who move the needle do.
And what do you see? What do people need these days? So, post-COVID, the workplace has changed forever, right? Like it's completely different now. Does it differ from SMB? Does it differ from mid-market, from jumbo employers? And what do the employees need in each one of those from what you've seen?
Well, a human's a human. So from an employee side,
I knew you were going to say that, Deb.
What?
I knew you were going to say that, just given the discussions we've had.
Yeah. And so again, it starts with the people. So from an employee perspective, we really need holistic solutions, and you meet people where they're at and have the services and support to do so. So personalization. It's grounded in the fundamentals of well-being, though, making sure that that employee and their family, right, and their family are mentally healthy, physically healthy, financially healthy, and socially and career-wise healthy as well. That's what employees need. And you don't have to throw lots and lots of money at that. You have to build the container, the environment, the leadership that addresses and supports that. So small business, mid-size, and jumbo, each have pros and cons. Small business, you really know your people. You get to know them. You can see them, understand them. Whereas jumbo, it's very hard to see the edges of those people struggling for different reasons. However, small business, mid-size can have data issues where they can't get at what really is driving some of the business results or even the health results in terms of claims. And so that takes a different approach where Jumbo can go in really deep with data and make sure they're matching employees' needs that way, versus SMB mid-market might have to do more surveys, more leadership touch points, more town halls, whatever it takes to really understand the dynamics and what the personalization is needed in there.
Maybe I just want to dive one other question in here, because I think, as you look at large organizations, and I would just broadly call it mid-market or smaller, also the size of the teams matter that are, helping employees. And what we've seen kind of mid-market and SMB, obviously, this is somebody's potentially even part-time job, or maybe less so in mid-market. Where do you see a lot of the innovation and kind of doing something new happening? And, we always say here at Your Coach, people work with people, not logos, right? But just curious kind of what you've seen out in the market. Do you see sort of in these buckets of type of companies, more innovation in certain size companies, or it just depends on the person?
Well, innovation in terms of benefits usually leads down the path of technology, right? Point solutions, throwing money at new things, which is great. But I think what's important, no matter what size company, is that that person or that small team has an innovative mindset to be scrappy when they need to, or when to really ask for pilots to start with. And so it's an innovation mindset that really sets companies apart, small and large, that I found is one of the, I guess, biggest needles to move. And then from there, in terms of innovation, I think it can, again, technology aside, because technology equals money, right? And the number one thing we hear across the board is, I don't have the staff, to your point, or I don't have the budget. And so policies can be very innovative, especially in this flexible workplace. And so we see a lot of policies, grandparental leave policies, support for leave for bereavement of pets and menopause. So innovation, I like to take a holistic approach that includes technology, but it's around a mindset, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes total sense to us, because you're absolutely right. People think innovation, they think throwing money at technology, which it doesn't have to be. It's just thinking about something in a totally new and innovative way, right? And, we always talk about, and jumping ahead a little bit, but everybody talks about the mental health crisis, right? Like, there's not enough mental health providers out there, but yet nobody's doing anything about it. And, nobody's talking about the fact that maybe not everybody needs a mental health professional. Some people, and just a blatant plug here, a lot of people could use a health coach, right? But why are we not talking about that, right? Something like that doesn't need to be thrown money at. Just think about something in a really innovative way. But, that's
the business you're in, and that's your wave you're trying to solve. I get it.
Let's talk about you for a minute. So your role has engagement in it. Can you define that for us? What does engagement mean? And given your accounting background, how do great leaders really measure engagement for ROI? What are some good strategies?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I love it in particular because our industry throws around language all the time. And no wonder we can't solve things, because we don't know what we're solving for. It's a moving target. There's lack of clarity. So engagement in the well-being context is honestly about energy management. And I talk about this in our book. It's a little bit synonymous. It really deals with, when I'm at work, if I have extra energy, do I give that energy? Am I engaged in giving that energy to my work, to my company, so I can do more, be better? So obviously when we're burned out, there's no hope for higher engagement. And unfortunately, if you look at Gallup, they'll define engagement, we're at 23 to 33%. And that means the extra energy that we have to really double down and be our best at work and give to our company is how I define engagement. And so I guess in terms of what that translates to in my accounting, do you see my brain working? Like accounting and engagement doesn't have anything to do. I'm like, where are we going? But here's the deal. I'm grateful I spent 5 years as an accountant. What that has done for me is allows me to talk to the C-suite about the business. Well-being and their people are the business. Without them, there's nothing, right? So to take those numbers, and I know numbers are very, very important, and I know how to talk about numbers, but that's allowed me to actually veer away from ROI and get at the root of value on investment by translating those numbers. Because the studies have shown over and over again, return is really hard to measure for well-being in particular, because we're avoiding costs. We're avoiding that heart attack. We're avoiding that conflict. We're avoiding losing good people. You can't measure that, and CFOs really get that. And so translating it to, well, how does this show up in terms of an investment to your company? And it shows up because retention is higher. The culture is happier. There's less conflicts. There's less HR managers throwing up their hands because people are struggling with burnout or conflict. So it's all about the value of investment, and CFOs, C-suite really understand that, but you have to bring them along. Now, let me say this. That's easy for me to say. My conversations are very hard, and I understand that. And I take a business approach because of that. But, and if they're still measuring ROI and they don't buy it, that tells me one important thing. That tells me that they're really managing the plan, the health plan, the cost side, and maybe not as much of the engagement, the how are we doing as a whole, the happiness, the connectedness, the productivity side. And if that's the case, and that is okay, every business needs to run the way they think they need to run, but they need to focus on more condition management than well-being, right? More like take the populations that are cost control, mitigation, those kinds of things, and move it to those strategies versus trying to look for platforms or personal coaching. Although personal coaching is a nice blend of both, right? It can really help control costs while making that person really feel elevated and supported. So that is the sweet spot where you play. But clearly, if I'm in a meeting and they're like ROI all day long, I turn to cost mitigation and risk mitigation strategies using more condition management than well-being and engagement.
It's interesting you mentioned condition management, right? Because Business Group on Health literally just a couple of days ago released their large employer healthcare strategy survey. And, obviously, as expected, oncology is rising the costs, metabolic health, diabetes specifically, but mental health continues to stay on top of the list as well, right? And this is a little bit alluding to kind of Marina's comment. Yes, there are direct costs for therapy that are managed through the health plan, and kind of reiterating, not everybody needs a therapist necessarily. And this is where your comment earlier was, well, how do you really measure? Because you can measure through the health plan and the therapy, but then the overall well-being of that individual, the stresses, the life stresses as people are going through, their life changes, right? I just came back to work from, pregnancy, or I just had to be a caregiver to someone. These things change. And so I think part of this, the question for you is, are we still seeing mental health as a stigma? What are you seeing some good implementations around it? Because it's still, again, top 3 challenges for whether it's large employers or SMBs.
Yeah, so we need to kind of look backwards at mental health in the workplace. And it's a new concept, I'm afraid to say. I've been talking about it for 30 years, but the door only opened after the pandemic, honestly. The opioids crisis in 2016, 2015, like came to a head, and we still didn't get that there's more to this situation, right? But that was the crack in the door, and then the pandemic blew it up all the way. So this is a 3-year-old scalable topic that we are trying to move fast and furious because it's just rose like a volcano, right? We all need it. So yes, there's a stigma, and that's just going to need a lot more education and a lot more of us talking about it to get employers, to get managers, like they had to put on their therapy hat all of a sudden, and that's not what they should be doing. And employees are afraid to talk about it, and I totally get it. So yes, there is a stigma at every level still that we need to still address. And we need to get clear on our definitions. So mental health is that clinical. And so my job, my role, I've been trying to really be very clear on this. And if we can take this forward in 2 or 3 years, that's the needle I want to move. Mental health is clinical, and 20 to 30%, sometimes 40% in a pandemic of the population is going through something that needs clinical care. Anxiety, depression, the clinical diagnosis conditions, but also large traumas, events. When you can't get out of bed for several days, that takes clinical expertise. And please, like everybody get that, right? We just all need that help. And I will say that every day. But and all of us are also dealing with something every day that, although we wish we could call a therapist on, we can't. Your tire goes out, my computer wasn't working. Like stress is running rampant in our body, and we need to upgrade our brain. The way you do that effectively is by practicing, and also by getting a coach, a trainer, a mental fitness trainer, somebody that can take and look at your moves in this form of thoughts and actions and help you address daily challenges so you can be your best on your own.
You know, I feel the energy coming out because we're also getting to brain on. You know, curious, what inspired you to write the book, and how long did it take you to kind of cultivate the, you know, the concept? And then, you know, I'll get some pointers on the side as I've been trying to write my book for God knows how long. But yeah, so tell us about the journey. Say that again?
Yes.
A really long time. Really long time.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's the first
Yeah.
thing, right? We're nice to ourselves. And I think that's where my message started. I started on, honestly, more of the clinical side or the anxiety side as I was growing up. I had what they now call for children performance anxiety, where I would blank out on tests, couldn't remember spelling bees, fainted at the sight of a choir performance. But I also struggled with panic attacks, and I really didn't know that until my first year on the job. So I've been saying this and helping people understand through my journey that we just haven't been trained how our brains work, let alone how our brains work at work. So I've been talking about stress management, resiliency. I've changed my language as the times have changed for 30 years. It's just when COVID happened, I couldn't talk fast enough. I couldn't get the message out fast enough. And so I decided to really double down and get that word out as a way of being of service to many. And so I used my strengths. My top strengths are I'm a futurist, ideator, maximizer. I can scale, I can create, I know what needs to happen on a large frame. My last couple strengths, 34 and 35, are content and communication. And so I know I'd be swimming upstream over and over again if I didn't have the support. So I got a collaborative writer. I got the buy-in of NFP. Like I did all the things right. And it still took 2 years, but I'm glad it did because I practiced every day what I talk about. And so I literally can feel I'm much more mentally strong and grateful for that.
So maybe let's just dive a little bit deeper, right? Because we just kind of mentioned your book, but kind of give us a little bit what's in it, and for applicability to some of the leaders, right? We have, inbounds coming in from different side of the organizations. There's production workers, there's other blue collar workers, there's knowledge workers, and there are different interests. And so, some of the tools that you discuss in your book, how is it applicable cross industry, cross, different types of work? So maybe dive one level deeper just to give our audience here a little bit of the tools that you have in your book.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So
without giving everything away, because we want them to buy it, right?
You know what? I'm happy to give everything away, honestly, just moving the message forward and having this platform. I'm grateful. So here's the thing. In this particular case, it doesn't matter if you're a 100,000 life company or a one-person company. If you are in this industry or that industry, because we're all knowledge workers and we use our brains to do work, create work, to communicate. And so if you don't have a healthy mind or a healthy brain, right, you don't have a healthy business, period. Yep. Period. So my goal with this book is for it to be the foundation of getting us to flip the way we work from the inside out, for us all every day to understand how our own brains work and how they work at work. And so this is for everyone. And that's how I spend most of the 8 chapters, is what I call foundational exercise class, mental fitness class, level 1, where we go through what are your strengths, where we go through what's the cognitive upgrade so that you can focus better, so that you can connect better, have difficult conversations. And then I also talk about well-being and human performance in that. So there's so much leveling up that needs to be done if we are going to succeed at work and thrive at work. And that's where we spend most of our life. So then live at work. And then just the last 3 chapters are geared towards, chapter 9 is really about a leader, and you lead yourself. So these are extra exercise classes, a special circuit for leading other brains. And then I spent the other 2 chapters really helping HR and leaders in the organization at that level scale this. But it starts with the individual.
So
Can we
I
do
love
something
your
fun here before you go? Can we do something fun? Can we give away a signed copy of Deb's book?
Oh, yeah, I'm in for that. Yes, of course.
Let's do that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about the episode. If you have any questions for Deb, what you thought, if you have any questions about the book, and we'll pick a winner and we'll give away a signed copy. Oh, I love that. Thank you.
That's
appreciate
great
it.
idea. Love that. Okay.
You mentioned some chapters around, leading others, right? And kind of, I'll call it the trainer concept a bit. In your travels, and up to you if you want to call out very specific companies, we're happy to hear them. But are there any examples of the companies that are doing it, quote unquote, right? And what are some of the parameters around it?
I, for one, want to hear names, so I don't know.
Let's get juicy.
Yeah, don't we all? Honestly, the names we all know are the names in the news, right? You have the thought leaders. And honestly, I try not to name names because I like to talk about the concept so it can apply to whatever without having preconceived notions. Like, I can't do that. That costs money, if that makes sense. So here's what I'm seeing. The companies right now that are really positive words, I was going to say killing it. I am trying to use different language, are really thriving and accelerating and amplifying, are the ones that have doubled down as leaders on upgrading their own brains. Because why I say that is, we're all really tired, and the demands of this world are exceeding our resources, even at the executive or HR level. And when we get tired, our brain defaults to what we've known in the past or what we've done in the past. Bringing people back to work all of a sudden, going back to protocols and processes pre-COVID will not work. Will not work. Your population is new. It's 3 years old. The whole world is a new company. It's 3 years old. We've all changed. We all need different things. So the ones that are really doing it well are taking time to learn about how has my demographics changed, how have the needs changed. So we're seeing a lot more surveys in our clients. We're seeing a lot more touch bases with leaders. We're seeing a lot more training for leaders on having that one-on-one connection and starting with, hey, how are you doing today? Like, what's going on before jumping into the agenda. So the ones that are going through, and we had 77 of our NFP clients on a call on Tuesday, and I walked out of that call so filled up because what they said they're focused on are not the soft skills, but they call them power skills or interpersonal skills. The only way to success that they've identified is having empathy in all communications. So before just sending out a typical formatted email, they're asking themselves, does this email strengthen my relationship with my employee? Or does it deteriorate it? Because there's no neutral in anything a company says, written or verbal. And so I am finding that if I can find the thread of empathy, compassion, staying steadfast to what people need now versus a knee-jerk reaction going back to previous protocols is what is defining better right now.
Quick observation as well, even the underutilization of solutions, we are seeing, and just conversing with a lot of the individuals in the field, the utilization is much higher when there's a great culture in the company, because that builds trust, right? And employee trust, because you actually said it earlier, Deb, we're all humans. It doesn't matter what company we work for, and trust is an aspect of our behaviors, our community, our social system. And so that that seems to be kind of a trend that we're seeing, is great culture equals high utilization because of trust. That just as a quick summary.
That's absolutely a huge component of that. And that's why, going back to what I said earlier, does every communication build trust or distrust? Right? All we have is decisions and communications in an organization. That's it. If you see, and so that decision is based on trust, it will communicate that way, but words can change it. So if you focus on trust in your decision-making process of securing the right benefits and securing the right solutions, and secure it around communication in order to build trust. Now, here's the bigger thing. It's not just get a great marketing person and have them review. Benefits, EAP, these are all brain off, meaning fear-based solutions, risk-based solutions. So you even say it's time to enroll in your benefits, people freak out. Once you freak out, your brain is off. You're not in your thinking brain. Are you making good choices? Right? This is so systemic in upgrading our brain to know when we're in fear brain and to move it into thinking brain on, so that we can start to make better decisions. We can start to look for the resources we need in our employer. We can start to use those resources and ask what we need.
I think what you were saying about building trust is a useful skill in and outside of work. So I think people just should bring that into their communication all around. I think it'd be a much better world.
Absolutely. I mean, in full transparency, like, I trust what you all are doing and believe in it. That's why I'm here, right? And so it just makes the world go around in the better way.
Oh, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Our favorite question: what can we do to move the needle today? We are, as you can see, like, we're very informal around here. We call it as it is. We want to do things, right? We don't want to just talk about it. We want to do something. So what can we do?
So that's a great question. And I love how it's centered around what you will be talking about with everyone. Honestly, I just have to double down and go with what I know to be true. And is to move the needle, we have to upgrade our brains and the workplace. We have to help everyone know and get the support around handling challenges and understanding our strengths and communicating with empathy and all those things that our brain and mind needs to reprogram, because we do not have those skills as a whole world. So this needle is like the biggest needle you could ever thread. And I'm hoping we just dive into that all together, to really start to give them the support, first with mental health, and coaching, and then really upgrading the skills and habits to understand how our brain works and to improve upon it. Because if you change your mind, if you change your thoughts, you change your life. Because our thoughts create our reality. Our thoughts end up creating our actions. When you're having a bad day, my guess is you've made bad decisions or deteriorated some relationship. When you're having a good day, when you at least know where you're at on that day, you can approach and have the right actions to move everyone forward in a more humane, compassionate, and productive way.
Love it, Deb.
Change your
And
mind, change your thoughts, change your life. I love that. That's words to live by.
that's going to be a good cut from our conversation. But
Great.
Deb, one final question for you. What's next for Deb? First of all, I guess you're welcome back to the Aon family, where you sort of came from, Hewitt, Aon, NFP, now back to Aon. So the only thing that stays this, well, things change all the time, but yet they stay the same. So, but what's next for Deb? Brain on part 2. What's, give us a little preview.
Well, again, I really, really appreciate being on as your first guest, and all the work you do. So part of what's next for me is really doubling down on moving the needle. So going to lots of different conferences to figure out what the world of work needs to continue to look like. That's my passion. If there's another book out of that, so be it. But I guess my mantra is brain on, and promoting that most of all. And then heart centered and feet grounded is wherever that takes me. I'm looking forward to it. And yes, it's day 1 of my new world. So we'll just leave it at that. I'm awake and I'm doing this, and that's where it's going to take me today.
Open heart, open mind. Love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us live. If you're listening to us on YouTube or on our podcast, please do like and subscribe, as we have many more disruptive dialogues coming your way. If you have any questions for Deb, our team at Your Coach, or future guests, please do reach out to us at team@yourcoach.health. And let's move the needle together.